These aren't just coins, they're hidden treasures waiting to be discovered in old collections, pocket change, or dusty drawers. In this video, we're diving into the top 5 most valuable Washington quarter dollars, each with a story, a rare error, or a history that makes them worth a fortune. Stick around, because one of these might just be sitting in your pocket right now. What if I told you that right now, in your pocket, purse, or coin jar at home, there could be a simple quarter worth not 25 cents. It's not just wishful thinking, it's real. The 1965 Washington quarter, a coin you've probably seen 1,000 times, hides one of the biggest numismatic secrets in U.S. coin history. And the kicker, most people have no idea what to look for. The rare 1965 silver quarter, here's the big twist. While the mint officially stopped striking silver quarters in 1964, some silver planchets, coin blanks, intended for that year accidentally ended up being used in 1965. That means a handful of 1965 quarters were minted on silver blanks instead of clad copper nickel, creating one of the most legendary mint errors in modern U.S. history, the 1965 silver quarter error. And because 1965 quarters weren't supposed to have any silver, any that do are beyond rare. How to identify a 1965 silver quarter? So how do you know if your 1965 quarter is one of the rare silver errors? Key signs, color and edge check. A normal 1965 quarter has a copper-nickel sandwich edge, you can clearly see a copper ring. But a silver one, it's pure silver all the way through, with no copper strip visible. Weight test. A clad 1965 quarter weighs 5.67 grams. A silver one weighs 6.25 grams. Weigh your coin precisely. Even a fraction of a gram matters. Record-breaking auction prices sales, here's where things go absolutely insane. Some examples of 1965 silver era quarters have shattered expectations at auction, selling for 5- and 6-figure sums. 1965 quarter on silver planchet. Sold for $7,050 at Heritage Auctions, PCGS MS62. Another example, NGC MS64, went for $12,650. Top-tier specimen, PCGS MS67 Plus. Reported private sale near $35,000. The million-dollar myth, there's even rumor in the collector community of a pristine specimen, possibly proof-like, that could fetch close to or over $1 million if it surfaced today. While unverified, experts say the right error in the right condition could absolutely break the 7-figure barrier. Other 1965 quarter errors worth big money. The silver error isn't the only 1965 quarter that can make you rich. Check out these other rare and valuable mistakes from the same year. Double die vs DDO, misalignment during minting can create doubling on the date, Liberty, or In God We Trust. High-grade examples have sold for $500 to $2,000 plus. Off-center strikes, quarters with 5 to 75% off-center images, especially when the date is still visible, can fetch $300 to $1,500 or more. Wrong planchet errors, some 1965 quarters were struck on dime planchets or foreign coin blanks. One known example struck on a silver dime planchet sold for $9,000. Clipped planchets and broad strikes. What if I told you that a simple pocket change from 1966 could make you a millionaire? What if buried deep in your coin jar, there was a Washington quarter worth not just a few cents, but hundreds, thousands, or even millions of dollars? Increased production massively to satisfy the demand. Relaxed quality control, prioritizing quantity over perfection. Types of coins issued in 1966, clad composition, 91.67% copper, 8.33% nickel, outer layer, bonded to a pure copper core. No mint mark, all coins from this era have no visible mint marks. Mass mintage, over 821 million quarters were struck, and that high mintage only increased the odds of rare mistakes. 1966 transitional error silver planchet, value, one such 1966 quarter sold for over $25,000 at auction. If certified as authentic, values could easily soar beyond $100,000, depending on grade. Double die vs DDO, value, high-grade examples can range from $500 to over $5,000. Off-center strike, collectors pay big. Depending on the degree of off-centering, these errors can fetch $200 to $2,000 or more. Clipped planchet, values range from $100 to $1,500 depending on the size and location of the clip. Struck on a foreign planchet, value, Such errors are incredibly scarce and could command $5,000 to $50,000 depending on metal composition. Auction record sales. Let's take a look at some jaw-dropping auction results of 1966 era quarters. 1966 quarter on a silver planchet, NGC MS62, sold for $9,000. 1966 double die obverse, PCGS MS65, sold for $2,100. 1966 off-center strike, NGC 58 Australian dollars, sold for $1,375. 1966 quarter with a broad strike error, NGC MS 63, sold for $700. Imagine being the one who discovers a 1966 quarter struck on a silver planchet in mint condition. The value could easily approach or surpass $100,000, and in a market boom, potentially hit the million mark. How to identify these rare errors? You don't need to be a professional numismatist to spot a treasure. Here's what to do: weigh your coin, use a jeweler's scale, 5.67 G equals normal clad, 6.25 G equals possible silver planchet, jackpot. Visual inspection, use a magnifying glass or microscope. Look closely at lettering, edges, rims, and center alignment. Tap the coin gently. A silver coin emits a distinct ping, unlike the dull sound of clad. Check your coin against high-res images from PCGS Photograde, NGC Coin Explorer, Heritage Auctions Archive. Seek professional grading. If you suspect a major error, send your coin to PCGS or NGC for authentication and grading. It's worth the investment, especially if it turns out to be a rare planchet or doubling error. The future of 1966 quarter. Here's the exciting part. Prices are only going up. Why? More awareness. Social media and YouTube have brought error coins into the spotlight. Imagine this. You're going through your old coin jar, the one collecting dust in your attic, and suddenly, something catches your eye. A plain old 1967 Washington quarter, right? Or so it seems. But wait, what if I told you that simple, overlooked coin could be hiding an error so rare, so mind-blowingly valuable, that collectors across the globe would pay hundreds, thousands, or even millions of dollars just to get their hands on it? 1. Wrong planchet errors. 1967 quarter struck on a 1-cent planchet. This quarter is notably underweight and has a reddish tone from the copper. It can fetch anywhere from $2,500 to $7,000 depending on grade and clarity of the error. Struck on foreign planchets, the Philippines or Ecuador. These extreme rarities have pulled in $10,000 plus at auction. Double strikes, value. A 1967 double-struck quarter, especially with major misalignment, can bring in $2,000 to $15,000. Coins with visible, multiple impressions are highly collectible. Off-center strikes, value. A 1967 quarter struck 50% off-center with full date showing has sold for over $6,000. The more off-center, the higher the value, especially if the date remains visible. Clipped planchets, value. Depending on the severity and number of clips, these coins can be worth $500 to $3,000. Full brockage errors, value. A 1967 quarter with a full reverse brockage sold for $12,500 at auction. One such coin is a 1967 quarter that was struck on a silver planchet. Double struck, off-center, broad struck with partial collar. Let's look at a few real-world sales. Heritage Auctions, 2021. A 1967 quarter struck on a dime planchet, graded MS65 by PCGS, sold for $7,200. Stax Bowers, 2022, off-center 1967 quarter with double strike, sold for $9,300. Great Collections, 2023, rare triple error quarter fetched $17,800. Private Sale, 2024, one of the only known silver planchet 1967 quarters, possibly struck using leftover blanks from 1964, sold in a private deal for an estimated $50,000. These aren't just coins, they're financial opportunities. How to identify a rare 1967 era quarter? Grab your magnifying glass. Here's what to look for. Weight. A standard 1967 quarter should weigh about 5.67 grams. Anything significantly lighter or heavier, potential planchet error. Edges. Smooth edges, clipped rims, or signs of brockage are key indicators. Off-center strikes. Check for missing parts of the design or obvious misalignment. Double impressions. Two noses on Washington's face. Two liberties. That's a double strike. Use a scale, loop, and lighting. Invest in a digital coin scale and a 10x loop. Lighting helps reveal subtle design doubling or brockage impressions. Top sales records for 1967 Washington quarter dollar, 1967 quarter struck on a silver planchet. Sale price, $17,800, Great Collections, 2023. Imagine holding a single quarter, just 25 cents, in your hand, and discovering it's worth more than a brand new Tesla. Or better yet, more than a luxury mansion by the ocean. That's right, today we're diving deep into the jaw-dropping world of one of the rarest and most valuable coins ever struck in American history, an innocent-looking 1968 Washington quarter dollar with a hidden secret that could be worth hundreds, thousands, or even millions of dollars. Some collectors spend their entire lives hunting for this elusive coin. Others have discovered it by sheer luck, turning pocket change into life-changing fortune. But what makes this coin so incredibly valuable? Why is the 1968-era Washington quarter dollar making headlines in the numismatic world? And how can you tell if you have one sitting in a jar at home, waiting to be discovered? The 1968 Washington quarter. To understand the significance of the 1968 Washington quarter era, we first need to appreciate its context in American history and coin production. The Washington quarter was introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. It was originally meant to be a one-year commemorative coin, but it was so popular it became a permanent fixture of American coinage. By the time 1968 rolled around, the U.S. Mint had already made a major change, eliminating silver from quarters entirely just a few years earlier in 1965. This change, caused by rising silver prices and coin shortages, led to the production of clad coins made of copper nickel, and with that came an entirely new era of error coins, since the minting process had to adapt to the new materials. 1968 was also the first year quarters were struck with mint marks once again, after they had been removed between 1965 and 1967 as part of the mint's attempts to discourage hoarding during the silver coin shortage. This return of the mint mark plays a vital role in the creation of rare 1968 error coins. The error types of the 1968 quarter. So what kinds of errors make the 1968 Washington quarter so valuable? Let's break them down. In 1968, mint marks returned, but not always correctly. Some rare quarters exist that were struck at branch mints but missing the mint mark entirely. While Philadelphia coins didn't carry a mint mark, a 1968 quarter with no mint mark that can be proven to come from Denver or San Francisco is exceptionally rare, and incredibly valuable. Double die obverse DDO, 1968 inch. If any of them appear doubled, you might have a coin worth $5,000 or more. Off-center strikes. A 1968 quarter with an off-center strike of 10 to 20% that still shows the date can be worth $1,000 to $3,500, depending on the severity of the error and overall condition. Wrong planchet errors. This is where things get wild. Imagine a 1968 Washington quarter accidentally struck on a dime or foreign coin planchet. These errors are ultra-rare. A known example struck on a copper-nickel planchet meant for a different C. The 1969 era Washington quarter is one of these elusive treasures, and it holds an extraordinary value that could shock any coin enthusiast. But what makes this coin so special? What is the secret behind its immense value, and why are collectors willing to pay a fortune for just one? Stick with us, because by the end of this video, you'll uncover the story behind this breathtaking piece of history and discover why the 1969 era Washington quarter could be worth a fortune. From its origins to how these errors happened, you're about to dive into a world of high stakes, rare finds, and jaw-dropping values. The 1969, however, stands out among the rest due to a unique error that makes it incredibly valuable. Before we get into the specifics of this rare error, let's take a quick look at what makes the Washington quarter such a beloved part of American numismatic history. Error coins are like diamonds in the rough, hidden gems that can turn a coin's value into something truly extraordinary. These coins are created when something goes wrong during the minting process, resulting in a mistake that was never intended. While most error coins are not incredibly valuable, some stand out like the 1969 Washington quarter, because of their rarity, historical significance, and the type of error they feature. The 1969 Washington quarter dollar error coin became valuable because of a specific minting flaw that occurred. This error, particularly the infamous double die obverse, can increase the coin's value dramatically. The 1969 error Washington quarter double die obverse. In 1969, a rare error occurred during the minting of the Washington quarter that left its mark on some of these coins, making them exceptionally valuable. The error, known as the double die obverse, happens when the coin die is struck more than once, causing a doubling effect on the lettering, date, and design on the obverse, front, side of the coin. This defect gives the coin a blurry or doubled appearance, which is a highly sought-after feature among collectors. But how did this error happen? The cause of the error was linked to a mistake made during the production process. The coin die used to stamp the quarters was struck more than once, causing a double image effect. When you closely examine the 1969 Washington quarter error, as with any collectible item, rarity is king. The fewer coins that are available with this particular error, the more valuable they become to collectors. In fact, a well-preserved 1969 error Washington quarter can command prices ranging from several $100s to tens of thousands of dollars. And the rarest of the rare, those in pristine condition, could even sell for over $100,000 at auction. And that's just the beginning. The 1969 error Washington quarter. The market for rare coins has exploded in recent years, as collectors, investors, and enthusiasts alike rush to get their hands on limited edition and error coins.